As you can see, the check engine light is on the cluster. Now we've got the result why the check engine light is on here. We have 3 codes. We have P1320, that is ignition signal primary. And then we have P0300, multi-cylinder misfire. And the last one here is P0140, that is heater oxygen sensor circuit bank 1. Those are the problems that we have, why the check engine light is on here. So I'm going to erase them out of the memory. The next thing now is to see when it's going to come on. If it comes on again, it's being erased from the memory. It's telling us there's no diagnostic trouble code. Further testing might be required, so we'll do further testing on it, and then we'll really see what comes on again.
My name is Johnson Eking. I'm a businessman, and this is my fiancée, Chinenye Chiwetoke.
Okay, so what kind of car do you drive? What year?
I drive a Nissan Pathfinder 2001 model.
Okay, so what was the problem with it?
Initially, when I came, the check engine light was on. It was not revving very well, and then there were times I had to stop intermittently while driving on the road, and I found that very, very awkward. So
for how long have you had the problem?
I've had this problem for over 2 months now.
2 months.
Yeah.
And it's been diagnosed. What was the diagnosis?
Though the diagnosis was a bit technical, but from what I gathered, they said I had a multiple cylinder misfire. I had a primary, they gave me 3 codes, you know. So, but it had to do with transmission and the fuel supply system actually.
Okay, so how does that make you feel now?
I'll look at it 2 ways, psychologically and then economically. Psychologically, I now know what's wrong with the car, and then how long or what I have to do next, you know. And then economically, I know how much it would have cost me, you know, if I were to go down to the roadside to have it checked, because from experience, I know how much I've spent already. I've washed my tanks, I've cleaned the nozzles, I've changed the fuel pump, I've changed the fuel filter. The problem still persists. So obviously, this is where the road leads to. I mean, all road leads here. You know, sorry, I'm not advertising for you people, but I'm happy from what I've seen so far, and I'm impressed.
Okay, so what would be your counsel to car users and mechanics?
Every person that owns a car, or that intends to own a car, or every mechanic that wants to stay in business has to have what it takes to be in business. You know, if you're not, there's no point having a cook doing a gardener's job. You know, if you're not a mechanic, don't bother. You know, you need to have up-to-date equipment like the one we've just seen here, and I'm really, really impressed. As a matter of fact, this is my first time of witnessing something like this free of charge.
My name is Chinenye Chiwetoke.
So, how has this problem with the car affected you?
Now I feel it's easier and it's more economical, because first we were spending more money on fuel, and we keep spending money on fuel, and the car keeps stopping on the way.
Is it stopping emotionally or psychologically?
Yeah, he thinks a lot, and he keeps asking one mechanic or the other, keeps calling 1 or 3, 4, 5 of them to help him out, and they give him different problems, and he doesn't really know which one to solve. So now I'm happy we're here. I'm very happy we're here. At least he now knows what the problem is, and he will focus on it. Yeah, and I'll keep telling him to come here instead of going somewhere else, please.
What's the problem with your car?
Oil light switch.
It's on.
Blinking. It blinks.
Which oil? The oil pressure switch, the engine oil.
The engine
blinking
when you put it on.
Okay.
And then my cruise control
Stop
working.
stopped working.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not working. So, but it still drives normally.
It drives normally,
Yeah,
but that's just a problem. The OD light flashing, that's an indication that there is a problem in the transmission. With the oil pressure switch light, you see the light flash, you see that.
Yes.
Okay. Those are minor problems. Might be find out exactly what the problem is. Okay?
Okay.
Problem with the light flashing for the oil pressure switch. I mean, just by me looking at it, I can't really say exactly what the problem is, but by looking at this, there's a leakage around there. It seems like somebody have changed it before, or they probably didn't put the right one. Yeah. And at the same time, let's see how your oil is. The oil is clean. You see how bad the oil is. If it's low or too dirty. The oil is a little bit low. So this is the full mark right here.
Yeah, but when I check it in the morning,
Yes.
it's midway.
It's midway.
Yes.
That means it's still not full. Fan is running directly. That's not supposed to. As of this one, because I see the sensor,
Okay.
but the vacuum.
And that's another thing. The lights don't come on, especially in the mornings. The indicator for reverse and drive, for parking and neutral comes on.
So that light will start blinking after a while.
After a while, yeah. But when you keep driving, it's blinking.
But when it's blinking, is the engine running okay?
Yes, and it moves all right.
Okay.
When-
Off by yourself.
Yes.
Don't do it. Say that you have it on permanently or off permanently. You said they removed the thermostat. I can see the thermostat, but I'm not sure if that will have to be reverted back to the original position. But the problem you will have is they've actually cut the wires. They've cut the wires. Here is the sensor, the switch, but they've cut the wire because the wire goes from there all the way around back here to a connector here. But they've actually cut the wire off. And all this will add to your problem because it will be signaling different problem. One, your engine, once immediately you turn the key on, the fan comes on. The engine will never warm up in time and you burn more fuel at that stage. The only time this car will get to optimum temperature is when you're in traffic. But when you're not in traffic, the fan is continuously blowing when you're driving, and you have ram here heating the radiator at the same time, coupled with the fan running all the time. It's just like running the car with the shock pulled, because the sensor will just be sending signal to the computer that, okay, this engine is not warm, I need more fuel. Yes, and that will trigger some of the problem. And with the problem you have with your transmission, I've explained some of the problem because you are the one creating part of the problem, because the light will start flashing when it gets to a certain changing in time. And if you continue to do that, you could damage the transmission, because what will happen is you burn some of the clutches. This is a 2009 Honda Accord, and right now I'm just driving the car to see the stability of the car, see how the car performs on the road. This car is very, very stable on the road. The reason why it's very stable on the road is the way the suspension are designed. There's independent suspension in the front, and the rear, they use a dummy axle in the rear, which has some they're not independent suspension as the one in the front. And the front sometimes will use a McPherson design strut system, which is called of course here we call it shock absorber, but there's a shock absorber in it, but it's actually a strut. That's what it's called. And the only thing I see that's a drawback on this car right now is, one, you can hear some noise in the car. There's a lot of, you hear some humming noise, which means the interior, the design of the ceiling effect from sealing out the noise from the outside is very minimal. But overall, it's a good car. It drives very good, has good fuel consumption, and the aesthetic inside. You have the more or less a navigation system that tells you the geographical location of where you're going. You have the air conditioning system is superb, and that's one of the things I love about this car is the AC system, the air conditioning system. When you're driving this car, most of the time you have to turn down the air conditioning to the lowest minimum, because in this particular model you have series of airbag. In this particular model you have the steering airbag, you have the passenger airbag, you have the side airbag on the seat, you have the side airbag right on the windscreen channel, you have it on the door. All this tends to protect the passenger in case there's an accident, if there's an impact, that the driver needs to stop suddenly. Instead of the driver hitting his or her head on the steering wheel or on the windshield, the airbag system protects you from all this accident. Well, the only common fault I've noticed on this particular model, most especially on the V6 model, is there's some problem with the engine that the manufacturer hasn't been able to come up with, is how to adjust the valves. But on this particular 4-cylinder, it's very, very good. There's no problem. I haven't found, apart from the noise that comes into the car while you're driving, you get into a small pothole, that's the only drawback I see on this car. That's very, very, that's the only drawback anyway. Let's just say that on this vehicle, that's the only drawback. Apart from that, it's very unique. The durability is good. The stability on the road is good. The maintenance is good. It's very roomy. The AC works. And it has a lot of spaces where you can store, a lot of storage places in the car where you can store. And you can see, if you look at the back seat will have an opening in the middle that if you have to open the back into the trunk to get something out, it's easy access for the passenger to open it. When you're driving this model, you tend to overspeed without your knowledge, because it's very smooth on the road while you're driving. Very smooth on the road while you're driving. So there's chances for you to overspeed if you've not been attentive to your speedometer, checking your clusters. Well, this is a 2009 Honda Accord with a 2.4-liter engine. You can see it says it's a dual overhead cam. And this stands for Intelligent Variable Valve Timing, Electronic Control. The SULEV stands for Ultra Low Emission Vehicle. That's what it stands for. That means it emits low emission into the atmosphere. This is a different engine compared to a V6 engine. This is a 4-cylinder. This is more economical on fuel than a 6-cylinder engine. And you have so many other gadgets that's been introduced into this car that controls the fuel management. You have the throttle body, you have the mass airflow sensor, you have the temperature control, you have the electronic acceleration control. You have all these gadgets that's been introduced for the fuel management of the car. All these manage the operation of the engine. Let's just say the powertrain. We're talking about the powertrain now. When you talk about the powertrain, you're talking about the engine and the transmission. Everything is being controlled electronically. And this being a 2009 model car, there's something that was introduced in 2000. It's called CAN control, Communication Area Network. Most of this vehicle comes with this system, and what that means is you have one wire that controls all the electronic aspects of this vehicle, not just the engine, with the transmission, the door, the AC. If you want to communicate with anything on this car, you use that control, which is called CAN.